Hey, Rick, what did you eat last night?
Kate, I made a farro dish. So I have all these herbs that I've been growing. I've been growing basil, I've been growing mint, I've been growing some oregano, and I've had so much of it that I thought I have to do something with it. So I made a farro dish where I cooked the farro in the Instant Pot. I don't know if you guys out there heard about this, but I have an Instant Pot now. And so I did that. And then in my cast iron frying pan, I basically put garlic and onions covering about half the pan, and I let them cook. And my goal this time was to really let them caramelize. So as those cooked on one half of the pan, I put broccoli in the other half, and I grilled the broccoli, and then I took that out. And then when the broccoli was done, I put in shiitake mushrooms, and then when they were done, I took them out. And then I also put in portobello mushrooms and button mushrooms, let them grill. And then when they were done grilling, I took them out, and then I did a yellow pepper, and then I did a little piece of celery I had left. And really, by that time, all of the onions were done caramelizing. And so I basically took all those vegetables, dumped them into the farro. I cut up some cherry tomatoes at the very end, put them in, and salt and pepper. And then at the end, I just threw in heaps of basil, mint, oregano, and then I also had some cilantro. It was like an herb fest, and I thought, this is so amazing. How so much flavor just comes from these amazing herbs, and it's all you need. I don't even think it needed particularly a whole lot of salt and pepper. I threw some in, but I'm like, my God, these herbs are an amazing dish. So tasty.
Mm-hmm.
And I could
That
sit there
sounds
and
amazing.
eat it for days. For days, I tell you.
Sounds amazing.
How about you? What'd you eat?
Well, I had been talking to a friend about something they made, and I was inspired because I thought it sounded really amazing. So I made this farro vegetable dish.
Did you
And
really?
I really did. I cooked my farro in the Instant Pot. And I did it differently than you did, I'm sure, because I used some homemade beef bone broth as the liquid to cook it in. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of the garlic, better than bouillon stuff, I threw in there as well, so that the farro itself would have a lot of nice flavor and also presumably nutrition from the people who are bone broth fans. And then in my cast iron pan, I put onions in. I put onions on one side and yellow peppers on the other, and I charred those up, and I took out the yellow peppers, and then I put in broccoli, and then I charred that up, and I took it out. Then the onions were still cooking, and then I guess everything came out, and then I put in, because I was looking for a replacement for the mushrooms, so I used eggplant, and I found...
Interesting.
Totally. And I actually am super excited about this because the way I prepared it, its texture and appearance resembled mushrooms. So I think it really was a very good substitution. So I found a small, what are they called? It's not Japanese eggplant?
Japanese eggplant, I think, yeah.
The long, narrow ones, yeah. And I don't cook a lot of eggplant because I love eggplant in some preparations and I don't care for it in others. And I haven't exactly researched, I don't know exactly why. So I don't use it a whole lot. So ye old internet provided me with some information, which was it chars very quickly and then it's hard as a rock on the inside if you don't bake it first. So I decided to make sure I was going to like the eggplant. So I cut it in half lengthwise and put it in my toaster oven with a drizzle of olive oil and salt and pepper. And I just baked it for 20 minutes or something. So it softened. Then I cut it up. So then I cut it in slices in little half moons so that it resembled mushrooms.
Nice.
And then once you char it, that purple skin turns almost sort of gray. So it really looked a lot like I wouldn't have known looking at it that it wasn't mushrooms, which is fascinating.
Wow.
So I charred that up and I added some garlic then. So it was a sort of eggplant garlic mixture because I was afraid if I put it in with the onions, the garlic would have burned and I don't like that. So I wanted it in with something that wasn't going to be in the pan long.
Right.
So I did that. And then I threw all that in with the farro, and because my friend had told me about all this herb situation, and it turned out I had a bunch of herbs. And so I used basil, rosemary, and parsley. Those were the fresh herbs that I had on hand. And mint. That's right, mint, which is fascinating because I do not use that much mint in savory dishes, and it is, I don't know why, I need to just get better at it because it's freaking amazing. I think it was the thing that made this amazing was mint for me. Like the thing that made it weird and unusual for things that I made. Yeah. And then I had some cherry tomatoes, but they were past their prime, and so they actually didn't end up making it in. I thought they were going to. And then I thought I was going to do sun-dried tomatoes, but what I did instead was I put feta cheese in it.
Ooh, I bet that was good.
And it was so good. And I don't always even like feta. So it happened to be a feta that I really like, which is sort of creamier and less chalky and a little bit less sour and tart and acidic and sharp. You know how feta has that sharpness, and sometimes it's too much for me. Same with goat cheese. I don't always like that sour thing. But this feta was perfect, and it was so perfect with this dish. And then I used this Penzeys spice blend that I use that's called like Ruth Ann's Muskego something blend. It's what I always put in my salads, and it's salt, pepper, onion, garlic, and lemon peel. That's what's in this seasoning powder, and I use it for so many things. It's so good. And you don't taste the lemon, but I think it just brings a little tiny, like a little zhuzh, you know? And so that was my seasoning, and it was so flipping good. And I had it hot that night, and then the rest of the times I had it cold or room temperature as a salad. When I ate, because I ate it for a week because there's so much of it when I made it.
Totally.
But it was unbelievably good. It made me so happy. So thank you so much for teaching me that dish. It was amazing.
Me pleasure. That's so great, particularly about the eggplant. I love the idea of baking it first. That's a really good tip. Because I really, too, I'm sort of always half with eggplant. I'm like, sometimes I really like it, sometimes I don't. And I realize the thinner it is, the more likely I am going to enjoy it.
Totally. And it needs to be soft. Well, it could be mushy. I don't mind it mushy, actually. I just don't like it hard, and I still don't. I don't like too big of a bite of it. Exactly. I think given that I use the Japanese eggplant, I probably didn't need to bake it first. I think if it was a normal eggplant, there's no doubt that I would have had to.
Okay.
But I don't think I would make this with a normal shaped eggplant. There's something about the Japanese eggplant size and shape and texture that I think it, for me at least, given that I'm iffy about eggplant, that's what I would use in this.
And I also noticed when they mention Japanese eggplants in dishes when I go out to Chinese or Thai restaurants, that when they mention the Japanese eggplant, I think it just tastes better than whatever the regular eggplant is that they're using.
Yeah, I just like it better. Yeah. I used to make we used to grow them when I had that garden at Bill's house. We grew them one year. And so I made all these amazing little eggplant Parmesan towers like I had when I was in Italy, where they just take the small eggplant and slice it, you know? And then I would bake those little rounds of eggplant and then make a tower. So like a sort of, you know what I mean? I didn't bake the whole thing. I made everything separate and then assembled it. So it was very elegant and amazing.
God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Well done, Kate. Welcome to another episode of You Won't Believe What I Ate Last Night. I'm Rick.
And I'm Kate.
And this is our ongoing conversation about food, health, weight management, and our endeavor to be and stay healthy in a really tasty world.
With love, kindness, and compassion towards ourselves and others.
Before we get any further, we just want to remind you to take a moment and please rate and review our podcast when you're done listening.
Thank you so much for doing that. It really helps other people find us on the RSS feeds. Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Yep, Yep. We like it. Thank you. And follow us on the socials. You won't believe what I ate at gmail.com is our email if you'd like to contact us. It's also our website. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram.
And we post a lot of fun stuff on those sites.
Totally. So do that. Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Do you know what America's largest crop is in 2019?
Now, I'm going to hazard a guess that since we're talking about corn today, it might be corn.
It is corn.
Oh, my God. I'm so smart.
Totally. Our second largest is soybeans, but this year the largest crop is corn. So farmers this year have planted 91.7 million acres of corn, according to the National Agricultural Statistics Service, which is 69 million football fields of corn.
That is a lot of freaking corn.
It is a lot of corn. And I always sort of knew it was a big thing for farming as an industrial thing in our country. Like it's a huge financial element of our country. But I also was like, well, what do we do with all that corn? So I actually learned the answer.
Is this going to be depressing at all?
No,
Okay, great.
it's actually not. I don't think so. So about a third of the corn goes to feeding cattle, hogs, and poultry.
Okay.
So it goes for feeding livestock. And that's a different kind of corn. Like, we don't want to eat the corn that they're feeding to those things, those creatures. So about a third of it is for livestock. About a third of it is used to make ethanol.
Interesting. I did not realize that.
Is a biofuel. So I just was amazed that much of our corn crop is being used that way, because I always felt like that's something that's not happening that much, but apparently it is.
It's huge.
Yeah, so it's a renewable fuel additive in gasoline. So it's only 1/3 of the corn crop that comes into being used for human food and beverages and industrial use, both in the U.S. and exported. So only a whole third of the crop is split between the U.S. and what we export.
Wow. That is so much producing. It's good to know that we're still producing and exporting something. As a country.
Exactly. Apparently, a lot of it is edible corn. Yeah. And we will get into, in a little bit, all the uses for corn. Because I was always like, oh, I like corn. And then as I started researching this, I'm like, oh, my God, I love corn. I forget how valuable corn really is, given all of its different manifestations.
Yes, exactly. One of the things that we'll learn in the history of corn section, Kate, is that corn was so valuable that people would use it, like they did so many other things, as money, that they would pay for things with corn.
Really?
Yes. Isn't that amazing?
Really? Yes, it is. The only thing I know about the history of corn is that it's also known as maize, right? And it was domesticated about 10,000 years ago in what we now call Mexico.
Yes.
That's all I know. Tell me more things.
Well, here's what I know. So let's go back 10,000 years. No. So basically, yes. That's sort of the big thing. Domesticated 10,000 years ago. It actually came, the current research says that it came from this previous plant called teosinte, which was a Mexican plant in the southwestern part of Mexico along I think it's called the Basas River. And they basically found it because when they when they were doing archaeological digs, they would find all the implements that people used to grind corn. And then when they did tests on all those, they would find remnants of this other plant, the teosinte. So they don't quite know how that whole thing, why they started to choose that plant to turn into corn. But one of the things they did discover is in teosinte, that there's a hard kernel. There's a fruit, I guess, is it a fruit or a seed inside a hard kernel, whatever it is that pops?
Don't know.
They wanted to see if that would pop like regular popcorn. So they have this old plant, so they put remnants of teosinte, the seeds, in the popcorn popper, and it totally popped like popcorn. It looked weird, but all the scientists were saying, oh, it tastes just like popcorn. So I thought that was, super interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And that's really the biggest thing I've gotten.
Well, all right then.
I mean, there's a lot in there. The other thing I loved is that when the conquistadors came over to the land to and went exploring
for the conquering.
Yes, for the conquering. Like Christopher Columbus, he got off his boat and he was like, "Show me your gold," and they brought him corn.
Oh,
because it was their most valuable produce.
And then, of course, all that breaks my heart is that they brought it because they didn't assume they were going to be conquered.
No, exactly.
All right. I know that's not the point. All right. Bringing it back to not being sad about how terrible people are.
And there's apparently big festivals that still go on in Mexico where during harvest time, they still worship. Where I think it's where there's 3 or 4 places that Mayans still live and gather in large parts across the Americas. So when they have these harvest festivals, they still pray to the sun god, which is actually corn. They actually pray to the corn plant, and they think that's who they worship.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. And it makes so much sense to me. And of course, if not literally, it is a manifestation of their abundance and their ability to survive. And that makes sense.
Totally. Do you know the most mythical type of corn?
No.
Unicorn.
Okay. That was a little corny.
Okay, even I'm not pulling out that joke, Kate.
You would have. I just had to beat you to it.
Oh, shucks. You're so right.
Oh, come on now. All right. How do you like to eat corn?
Honestly, no, I'm going to lie to you. My favorite way to eat corn is Mexican street corn. So I like the corn on the cob. And I get it with the butter and the salt once you do that, but it never really, really resonates with me that much. But when you take a little Mexican street corn, which is basically by making that cream sauce that sits on top, and it comes from mayonnaise, sour cream, chili powder, lime juice in a bowl, and you brush that all over and then put a little cayenne pepper on it. I love those flavors. So exciting. How about you?
Well, before we started researching, this, I would have said, I think of corn as a vehicle for butter, just like I think of other things like potatoes and bread, mostly, as a vehicle for butter. So corn on the cob and popcorn with butter would be normally my favorite way to eat it. And that corn on the cob could be produced in any way. It can be steamed, it can be grilled. I really like that. But corn on the cob just with butter and salt, popcorn with butter and salt are probably my favorite ways. I do like the street corn, but I have to say I prefer it when it's in a bowl as a salad that I can eat with a fork. I don't enjoy the mess of that mayonnaise on the cob personally, but the flavors I really like. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes on that Mexican street corn, they put little, I think it's called cotija cheese. They sprinkle it right on top of the corn. I am in heaven. So many flavors. It's got the texture, the flavor, the sweetness, a little bit of spiciness.
At my local produce store, Harvest Time, that I shop at so much, they have, there's a lot of Mexican stuff and Latino foods in there. They keep the cotija cheese next to the corn on the cob in the summer. It's right there in the produce section because they know.
Very practical, people. Don't make us run around the grocery store trying to put our dishes together.
That's right. They know what we want. And there's also often vendors out front selling tamales, which are also made of corn, which are one of the few corn products I don't care for. I don't care for the texture. I finally have owned up to the fact that I don't really like the texture of tamales. It's not, because I've always been like, well, I need good tamales. I have had really proper tamales from Mexico, like proper ones, and it's not my favorite.
Oh, I get that. I guess
which is lucky, because otherwise these vendors I would be buying. It's just as well I don't care for it because it's easier to pass it up.
You'd be funding their children's college education.
Yeah, I would be eating way more corn than I want to.
Totally right.
Totally. So we use it in a lot more things than I thought, really. So obviously there's regular corn. There's cornmeal, which we use in a lot of things. Tortillas and corn chips, of course. Corn flakes and cereal. Polenta and grits, which are similar. One uses white corn, one uses yellow. One is coarser, one is finer, but polenta and grits are very similar. It's in whiskey and bourbon. It's in cornstarch, which I just used when I made chocolate pudding the other night. And, of course, corn oil, corn syrup.
Wait a minute. You made chocolate pudding?
I made chocolate pudding.
Hold the corn episode.
Totally. My friend Liz was coming over and I asked her what her favorite things were. And on the list was chocolate pudding. So I'm like, I've never made chocolate pudding from scratch. I'll try it. It was delicious. It was not that hard. You have to whisk it constantly for like at least 5 minutes. So that's the annoying part. But it was not a big deal. It was delicious. It was so good. Oh, my God. It was so good.
Nice. All right. Good to know. All right. Continue, Kate.
It's also put in canned beer, apparently. It's in soda. I think maybe it's the corn syrup. It's used in biodegradable packing materials. It's used as the key ingredient, as the growing medium for penicillin and other life-saving medications.
That I did not know.
Yeah, apparently corn gluten meal is used on flower beds to prevent weeds. It is remarkable how many uses corn has, so I can see why people would pray to it.
And lipstick.
Lipstick?
Yes, makeup.
It's in lipstick?
It's in some makeup. Isn't that crazy? That's the only thing I had on my list that you didn't read.
Well, fabulous. All right.
That's crazy. I mean, it's such a corn country. That's what's so amazing about it.
Yes. Well, it's indigenous to at least North America. Or, well, North and Central America. Our continent.
Our continent. Yeah. Ow. I'm sorry. Janice was tapping me on my shoulder. What do you want?
She needs to get a handle on how hard she taps.
Well, she She's trying to hand me a piece of paper, but she's got 2 bottles in her hand. She can't seem to get to it. It's quiz. It's time for a quiz, Kate.
Yay!
Quiz time.
I'm so happy there's a quiz.
Quiz time. All right. I hope this is one of, she seems like she worked really hard on this, so we'll have to give her props.
I'm very excited. Thank you, Janice. Is she at least drinking bourbon and whiskey so that it's corn themed?
Yes, she is. That's good.
That's
news.
good. All right.
She supports us how she can.
That's great. Or she could just put a couple kernels in a glass of wine. Whatever.
She wouldn't know the difference. She'd be like, look at me, I'm drinking bourbon.
Janice.
All right.
Okay.
True or false?
Okay.
Corn will always have an even number of rows on each cob.
False.
It's true, Kate.
Damn.
And more importantly, I looked it up. It's because I think they're called spikelets, which are the things that the kernels grow from. They always sprout in pairs.
Oh.
So there's always going to be an even number. Isn't that amazing?
love that.
God, it's not like nature has patterns or power or anything, is it?
Oh, God. Or that there's any sort of design at all. Right. Oh, my Lord.
Totally.
I love that.
All right. Corn is grown on every continent in the world, with the exception of this one. Can you name it?
Ooh. Let's see. So there was this song when I was in Montessori school as a kid that we learned for our continents, and it goes, North America, South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. Don't forget Australia. Don't forget Antarctica. North America, South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. So that's how I learned my consonants, and I swear to you, every time I have to come up with a continent, I say consonants, continent, I have to go through that song in my head. It's like some people need a running start at the alphabet. You know, you have to sing the alphabet in your head. So anyway,
let's hope
Antarctica.
we're never in a situation where you have to give that information up with a gun to your head in 10 seconds.
Believe me, I know. Antarctica.
Correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Yay!
Yay, very exciting. Okay. This is interesting. How many cans of soft drinks can a bushel of corn sweeten?
Oh my God, that sounds like a tongue twister. How many
cans of soft drinks can a bushel of corn sweeten? A, 300, B, 350, C, 400.
Okay. 300.
No, C, 400.
400. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of, okay. There's not that much corn in a can of Coke.
Yeah. I was
Corky.
surprised by that.
Okay. All right.
All right, Kate. Can you please name the top 3 corn-producing states?
Oh, no.
This is a tough one, I know.
Iowa?
Bingo.
Okay, because I used to live there. And when I went to grad school in Iowa as an East Coast city girl, and I landed in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and there was nothing but cornfields, I was like, oh, no. But then I came to enjoy Iowa City very much. So, okay, so Iowa, Nebraska.
Very good. Bingo. Got one more. If you want a hint, let me know.
I will take the hint.
It's very close to you. It's almost as if.
Illinois?
Yes, very good. Bingo.
I would not have guessed that. Thank you.
Way to go, Kate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, here's our final question. This is an exciting one. This one took Janice a long time to put together, and this is probably why she started drinking.
All right.
Based off the clues I am going to give you, you need to guess the 3 classic or semi-classic films, all of which had an important or climactic scene take place in a cornfield.
Oh, my God. I love you.
Janice does make me look good as I clutch my pearls.
Oh, my goodness.
All right.
Do you think I know these movies?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, here are your clues for the first one.
Okay.
Airborne cow.
Oh, no.
I'm just going to keep giving you clues.
Okay. I don't know.
Paul Reiser, sitcom partner.
Okay, well, that's Helen Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember her ever being in a movie.
Who does, really?
Okay.
Weather Chasers.
Oh, very good. Right. So it's not called Tornado.
Another name for tornado.
Yeah, Twister.
Yes, very good.
Awesome. That was super fun.
Woo! I'm so glad.
That was great.
If these clues don't help, the whole game's going to be screwed.
Totally. No, it worked.
All
that
right.
was awesome.
The next movie, the hints are
Okay.
Airplane.
Okay. North by Northwest, South by Southwest.
Very good.
Is it really?
Yes. Can I give you the other clues I had for North
Yes.
by Northwest? Airplane, repetitive directional, Stewart, and Hitchcock.
Nice.
Very good, Kate. Wow, because I thought that one, because I'm pretty sure you've seen that one, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't even know where that came from in my brain.
It's amazing.
Honestly, I'm sure I've seen it,
Yeah.
but I don't know what happened
was
right there.
good.
That was a magic moment.
All right, your final one.
All right.
Final film. A director that never lived up to his promise.
Oh.
A lip scar.
Oh.
Pre-anti-Semitic Mel Gibson.
Oh. Is there another one? Or is that it for the clues?
That's it for the clues.
Oh, no.
A director that never lived up to his promise.
So never lived up to his promise because he died young?
Mm-mm.
Or for some reason he just became a bad guy?
Really just never really delivered on his genre of films.
I see.
Here's another clue. You might sense his sixth ability.
Oh, is it M. Night
Yes.
Shyamalan as the director?
Yes.
Very good. Very
Very good.
good. Oh, no. Do you think I've seen this movie?
I think so.
It's obviously not Sixth Sense.
No.
I don't think I know what this is.
You might pass one every time you come to an intersection that tells you to stop.
Sign? Something
Yes,
about
signs.
sign?
Yeah.
It's called Signs?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
But all take place all have a big climactic scene in a cornfield. I eliminated this Wizard of Oz because I thought that might be too easy for you.
I was expecting Wizard of Oz, and also isn't there some Stephen King Firestarter or something? Maybe one of those that's in a cornfield. Perhaps some Stephen
Is he
King.
Children of the Corn?
Oh, maybe that's what I'm
he's
thinking.
Children of the Corn.
That might be what I'm thinking of. That would have been a little on the
Yes.
nose. Yeah. Well, that was fantastic.
I'm so
Thank
glad.
you. Thank you. That was super fun. Thank you, Janice. Cheers.
Yes, I think she's choking on her kernel. Hey, Kate, can I ask you
Yeah.
something? Why would we want to eat corn?
Well, perfect question. So I was just about to say, I always feel like I resist corn because I perceive it as being sugary and carby.
Yes.
And not a particularly great vegetable to eat. So one of the things we have learned recently from Vicky Shantaratelny. From Vicky Shantaratelny. Who you're going to be hearing from in an upcoming episode about whole grains, that corn is a whole grain. So that's one thing that makes it healthy, is that it is, in fact, a whole grain. And it is low-ish on the glycemic index, apparently, I learned, which means it doesn't give us an unhealthy spike in blood sugar, even though it has a fair amount of sugar in it. It's not, like, terribly bad for us in terms of sugar. It does have a lot of carbs. It has some fiber and a very small amount of protein. So it has some other stuff too, but it's not as bad perhaps as I thought it was in terms of the bad side.
I think it's gotten a bad rap. You know, definitely.
I think maybe it has.
I was reading.
What else? Why else should we eat it?
There's 6 grams of natural sugar in a medium-sized ear of corn, and one plain ear of corn is about 100 calories, similar to an apple. So it's not terrible.
No, and then about 300 calories of butter on top of that, and you're golden.
That's at least one meal you can get away with. There's also these reports that say it also says that corn is also said to provide a means to prevent diverticulitis, which is characterized by pouches in the walls of the colon. And it also says that it's really good for eye health, particularly because it can play a significant role in macular degeneration and cataracts that are apparently the most common visual impairments in the world because of these 2 enzymes that it has. Yeah, isn't that interesting? They say these 2 conditions lead to blindness in most cases. However, there's 2 carotenoids in corn are shown to improve eye health. I thought that was pretty exciting.
Yeah. That is very interesting. Yeah, that's in my little paragraph that I have here too to share. Yeah,
God, I should have let you read it because there's so many words in there. I keep twisting my tongue over.
All of mine says, I think it's carotenoids if I'm not mistaken.
Carotenoids, thank you.
All mine says is 2 phytochemicals that promote healthy vision. It didn't try to even get into the hard stuff.
It's high in fiber, so that's super good. So it's going to help with your digestion. It's going to help move things through your system. So that's super awesome.
And that fiber, because it's insoluble, it feeds the good bacteria in your gut. Mm-hmm. So it's not just any old fiber. It's a particularly good kind of fiber, apparently.
And it's going to help with your energy levels because, as we said, it has some sugar, but not too much.
Mm-hmm. It's loaded with lutein and zeaxanthin. Those are the phytochemicals that promote healthy vision, apparently.
Thank you. I couldn't bear to try reading them.
Mm-hmm. It helps with weight loss, the insoluble fiber as well, it claims, which is so... I'm dubious.
I agree.
I have a really hard time being like, I want to lose weight, I should eat corn.
Right.
But maybe it's true.
I agree. All I kept thinking during the research for this episode as well, I have been severely misguided on the corn issue.
I think this is probably true. It's got a lot of B vitamins and iron and a little bit of protein and a decent amount of potassium. Apparently, it's a low-quality protein, as proteins go. But if you mix it in, like I make this lentil quinoa chili that I throw corn in, like what a protein bomb that would be.
That's nice. I do love corn in the chili.
Yeah. What else do you like to put it in?
I love corn in my salsa. I love a good corn chowder. We talked about the corn on the cob. And
have you ever made creamed corn?
No, I haven't. I feel like I've had
neither.
it, but I've never made it.
Yeah, I feel like I might have had it. It feels like a Southern dish, right?
Yeah.
Like it goes with collard greens. I don't know if I like it. I'm not even sure if I have had it or like it. I mean, it's cream and corn, I'm sure. Like, how can I not like it? But
I'm
something I would choose.
I feel like I have had it, but I'm not sure if I've had good creamed corn. I feel like if I have had it, it was out of a can when I was much younger.
That I'm sure me too. And it's not something I would ever choose to make, even though I'm sure we could make creamed corn out of fresh corn.
Yeah, totally. I love a good corn soup, particularly Mexican corn soup with some corn tortillas on top. Makes my day. So are you a corn or flour tortilla?
Well, I actually prefer flour tortillas
Really?
for the most part. And then if I'm going to have a corn tortilla, I prefer a white corn to a yellow corn tortilla.
Really? Okay.
I don't love the texture of a corn tortilla. It's in that family of not enjoying the texture of a tamale.
I get that. Okay.
There's something dry about it, or there's just something about it I don't love. I didn't used to like polenta, and I still only like polenta and grits if it's got a ridiculous amount of fat in it.
Right.
You know, butter and cheese and stuff like that. So there's certain preparations of corn that I don't like. My favorite corn in soup is hominy in like a pozole. Mm-hmm. I love hominy in a pozole. I've also never worked with that at home, and I love a good corn salad. So I will put grilled corn in my salads. First of all, if I have the grill out, I will always just grill some corn so I have grilled corn around because it's amazing in a salad. But I also have some just corn salad recipes with like blue cheese, tomato, and basil that are just really, really delicious just as a salad.
Nice. Oh, I do love it on salad. I forget about that. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great thing to have
especially
around.
Grilled. I would never open a can of corn and throw it in a salad. I mean, I'm sure you could, but I don't do it that way. But if it's grilled, then I totally love it. And there's some dishes that I've made that involve like black beans, salsa, and corn. And that triumvirate is amazing. You can just throw those things in either a pan or the Instant Pot and either add chicken or not. And it makes some sort of synergistic dish that is so much more complex and delicious than it seems like it would be.
Interesting.
It's a really beautiful shortcut. Like, honestly, a can of black beans, a jar of salsa, and some frozen corn in a saucepan, serve it to people. It will feel like soup you cooked all day.
Wow, nice. Good to know.
Yeah, and then throw it in the Instant Pot with some chipotle and some other stuff and maybe some cilantro. Oh, my Lord. And then, in my case, some chicken thighs. Oh,
wow.
So good.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So here's something I'm going to mention, and we're not going to talk about at length.
Yes.
Which is the concept of GMO, which is genetically modified food. So one of the reasons corn and corn syrup gets such a bad rap is because a lot of them are genetically modified. So we have listeners, Rick and I have talked about this, and we're not going into the whole concept, the whole topic of that, because we feel like that deserves its whole own episode to talk about what GMO really is and the pros and cons of that and what it is. What I have read is that most ears of corn that are for human consumption are actually not genetically modified. That gets processed into the processed foods and also fed to livestock. So most of the corn you buy in the husk is probably not genetically modified, and it's not something you have to be concerned about if that is something you care about.
I love that you said that. I think I'm going to take the lead, let you take the lead on that, because you, in my book, are the kernel.
There is a kernel of truth to that.
Just a bit. Hey, do you know how much a pirate pays for an ear of corn?
No.
A buccaneer. Who is the greatest baseball player of all time?
I don't know.
Ty Cobb. What do you get when you cross a werewolf and maize?
I don't know.
A corn dog. Why is corn such a good listener?
Because it's all ears?
It's all ears! Why was the corn put in jail?
Why?
It was a corn stalker. Why couldn't the corn answer the door?
Why?
Because it was in the can. On that note, should we say goodbye?
Yes, we should. My favorite part is how much you enjoyed that.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye. See you next time.